Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, today I'm going to be talking about the Rip It Away Seam Ripper, Pinkerville custom quilt backings, Renaissance ribbons. I'll be showing photographs of this past week at Quilt Festival and our meetup dinner. The book review will be for Tilly and the Buttons Stretch. I'll be demonstrating how to make an adjustable buckle strap. I'll also be sharing a photo of Kathy's bingo bag, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me for Social Sunday. I'm so happy you're here with me tonight. Just a friendly reminder, just about everything that I talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And also everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the notions, fabrics, books, or projects that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So a friendly reminder from Michelle and Bronwyn, who are co-hosting the Sublime Bag Sew Along. This past week, they posted the album for week 2, and your assignment for week 2, if you choose to accept it, is to complete steps number 5 through 11 in the Sublime Bag pattern. So I've linked to that album for the Sublime Bag Sew Along week 2, and if you're caught up so far, go ahead and post your photo in the album. We'll start announcing prizes this upcoming Tuesday. For each week's assignment, you do have, I believe it's a couple weeks to get your assignment finished and your photo posted in the album. So if you'd like to be eligible for the prizes, just be sure to post your photo in the appropriate album. And the album for week number 2, again, is for steps number 5 through 11. So I'm super excited tomorrow to go and visit my friend Vanessa. Vanessa is also a member of the Facebook group. Vanessa lives on a farm, so I had Danny buy a couple big bags of carrots so that I had treats to bring to the horses. And Vanessa and I are actually going to see a movie tomorrow. I've been really looking forward to this movie. It's called The Mustang. I linked to the trailer video in the description if you're curious to see what that movie's about. But I'm really excited to see it tomorrow afternoon, and excited to see horses in person and on the screen tomorrow. So the notion of the week this week is, I know it's another seam ripper. I know we all have at least a seam ripper or two in our sewing rooms, but I came across this one and it was a little different, so I thought it would be really cool to demonstrate on the show. It's called the Rip It Away Seam Ripper, so I'm going to jump over to the side camera and show you how it works. Okay, so here is what the packaging looks like, and this is the Rip It Away Seam Ripper. It comes with a tip that you might be familiar with from perhaps the seam ripper that you have already. So this tip easily removes threads after you've ripped them out of your fabric, and this end is what does all the heavy lifting. So it comes encased in this little plastic sleeve just to protect the blade. This blade, it says it on the packaging also, but it says it's a safety blade and it only cuts threads and not fabric. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I prepared a couple of pieces of fabric that I stitched just so that I could show you how it rips the seams. So you can either catch a seam and then rip them like one at a time, or you can just, I'll show it in a overhead view too, or you can just nestle that blade in there and just start cutting the threads. So depending on how close your stitches are together, as you can see, that came out pretty quickly, and then you'll just use this end to remove the threads. And I have another piece over here just so that I can show that to you again. So you're just going to go ahead and slide this end, come on now, slide it in between the fabric layers, and then just have at it. So since the blade can't cut the fabric, I'm not too careful about, I'm really giving it some good elbow grease here, and it's taking those threads out pretty quickly. So again, this is called the Rip It Away Seam Ripper by the company The Gypsy Quilter, and yeah, that worked pretty well there. Okay, so again, there's tons of seam rippers on the market, but when I saw this one, I just had to give it a shot because it looked pretty interesting. So Danny's favorite part of the Sunday show, we'd like to invite all the bag ladies and bag dudes whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, to go ahead and type either Bag Lady or Bag Dude in the comments right now. We really appreciate the supportive bag making community. We're so glad you're here. And I have some photos that I'll be showing a little bit later on in the show of a meetup and then a dinner that we had this past week in the Chicago area. It was super fun. The new fabric that I've added to my stash this week is a custom quilt backing that I purchased from the website ihearttulapink.com. So they have lots of different custom quilt backings based on Tula's fabric designs, just blown up into really big and beautiful quilt backings. So I knew the backing was too big for me to hold up and show you on camera. So Danny's going to post a graphic on the screen really quick. So this is the one that I purchased. It's based on Tula's artwork for Pinkerville, which that fabric line just came out. I'm going to do the best that I can to hold up as much of my quilt backing as I can, just so that you get the general idea. But yeah, this one's pretty big. I believe it measures 56 by 72. Don't quote me on that, but you can find out the accurate information from the link in the description. As you can see, that's just the unicorn's head, and it's super big. It's a really nice quilting cotton, and it almost has like a lovely sateen finish, which is, I don't want to say shiny, but like it kind of is. It's a little bit different than quilting cotton, but it's really beautiful. And I'm looking forward to, actually, I admit I did buy 2 of these quilt backings. I was going to use one for an actual backing on a quilt, but I thought for the second one it would be really cool to feature it as the front of the quilt, the main portion of the quilt, and I thought I'd just do a little bit of patchwork along the right hand side just to give it a little bit of visual interest, but let the main print be the focal point of the design. So I'm mulling over in my head what that patchwork will be, but probably I'll use coordinating solids based on the colors that are in the quilt backing. I also have some Renaissance ribbons to show you. For those, I'm going to step over to the side camera. Some new ones that I added to my stash, and they come in these 2 designer packs from Renaissance Ribbons. So I'm going to take these out of the plastic so that I can show you those up close. And on the back of this particular pack, there's the Bellevue pouch right there with some of the ribbons right down the center. Okay, so these are varying widths of ribbon. They're woven ribbon, so this is what the back looks like. That's the raccoon print in my favorite color, green. Here's some owls right here. This one's actually a bee print. This one's really cool. And then there's a few smaller coordinating prints. So the dots would be really nice looking at the top and the bottom of one of the thicker ribbons. And here's another coordinate to go with the raccoon. And then the second pack has a bunch of purples inside. And again, I'll take that one out of the package. And on the back of the package, there's just some ideas of the types of projects that you can use with the ribbons. So besides just using the ribbons either vertically or horizontally, you can also use them in sort of like a chevron pattern. So I thought that was really cool. I wanted to show you the back of that package. Okay, so the larger ribbons in this pack are the frog and the otter. Here's another bee. This one's really intricate. This one's really beautiful. I like that. I like that bee a lot. And then there's some more dots. You can use it, the dots for either side. It's kind of double-sided. Same thing with these little bears. This one's double-sided as well. And then here's another one of the woven prints right there. So these are, again, Renaissance ribbons. Just added these to my stash. I know not enough hours in the day to make pretty things with all of these projects. The ribbons, the link is in the description to both of those packs of ribbons. And each pack contains 6 yards total, so a good amount of ribbons to get you started on at least making several different projects with each pack. All right, so now Danny's going to post some photos on the screen. We had a meetup at Quilt Festival, which was in the Chicagoland area, Thursday during the day. Mark organized it. Mark's a member of the Facebook group, and we took a bunch of photographs with people that we met from the group. So lots of photographs here. And then we also had a dinner last night after Quilt Festival closed, and that was also in the same area. And there's the dinner. We didn't get It's hard sometimes taking photos and remembering while you're having fun at the event, remembering to take a group photo, but that was a photo from the dinner last night. It was tons of fun. How many hours were we there for? I think we were there for over 3 hours, so lots of fun. The food was great. There was actually a live musician at the restaurant last night, so it was tons of fun. I had a great time, and thanks to everyone for coming out to the meetup on Thursday afternoon and also to the dinner last night. So I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments. Have you gone to any of the Sewcial social group meetups? So abbreviated, that's SSSP meetups. So a lot of the state and country groups have had meetups for Sewcial members. So I'm curious if you've gone to any of those meetups before. If you're not already a member of your local state or country group, there's a link in the description if you'd like to check out that group and join it. I believe the California group just had a sewing day for the Clydebank tote, so that was tons of fun, and I know a lot of the other groups are having events and lunches and dinners and things of that nature, so tons of fun, and thanks for being part of the community. So the book review for this week is for a garment making book. It's called Tilly and the Buttons Stretch. And these are all garments made with jersey or knit fabric. So again, I'm going to jump over to that side camera and show you some of the projects that are in the book. Okay, so this is what the book looks like. Again, it's called Tilly and the Buttons Stretch. All of the pattern pieces for the book are located in a little folder in the back, so no need to print anything out. Everything's included in the back of the book. And if you've never worked with knits before, the first maybe quarter of the book is talking about tools and supplies and feet that you'll need for sewing with knits, some troubleshooting with using your serger, things of that nature. But I know you all want to see all of the projects in the book for sure, so let me flip to those. So as you can see, there's really detailed and easy to see color photographs, full color photographs in the book, and that continues on for the project instructions as well. So let me find that first project. Here's the chapter on dealing with using your serger, which is very handy. I admit when I first got my serger, I was really scared to even take it out of the box because it was something new, and you know, a lot of sergers have 4 threads, so that was a bit frightening. But anyway, this is the first project, a knit skirt. Very forgiving, and what I like about the projects in this book is that there are modifications for each of the main patterns. So besides making that skirt, there's also another skirt modification with the slit on the side, which is really cute. Mitered corners for that particular project. And here's another modification on the skirt. It's a pinafore dress, kind of like overalls, but with a skirt. So the next project is a baseball shirt. And again, there's additional tips and tricks for working with the collar on the shirt. Let me show you the first mod. The first mod is making it your own with some knit applique on there. The lemons are super cute on her shirt. And then here's another modification. So again, all these instructions are in the book as well as the original creation. This is actually my favorite project in the book. This is the Freya sweater and dress. This particular item in this photo is just for the sweater. There's a modification for the dress, which is also really cute. I think I don't know, I feel like I need to be a little bit of the braver sort to make the modification, but I love it on the model. It looks really cute with the ruffles. And there's a few modifications, a turtleneck, a cowl neck. Cowl necks are really popular, of course. And then, of course, I'm a huge fan of wearing hoodies and joggers, or as I like to call them, my pajama pants. There is also sort of like a hoodie slash dress in here. Let me flip to that. So as you can see, like super detailed photograph instructions, very easy to understand. There's that dress. That's pretty cute and something a little different, especially without the sleeves, although you could add the sleeves as well if you prefer. And there is, the last project in the book is a dress with sort of like a knot tie near the neckline. And there's a few modifications for this one as well. All right, so let me show you the here, this one is sort of a sequin skirt over here with the bodice of that original dress, and then here's another version. So again, this is called Tilly and the Buttons Stretch, especially if you're a fan of making knit garments, or if you've never sewn with them before. I think you might find that book really helpful, because as I mentioned, there's lots of discussion on getting started with sewing with knit fabrics. There's no assumption in the book that you've sewn with them before, which I really appreciate, and I thought that was really nice. So I have another question for you. Let me know in the comments, have you made a knit garment before? So a few years back, I was on a huge kick making garments and adjusting them. Normally I have to make bust adjustments when I work with garment patterns, just because most garment sewing patterns are drafted for, let's just be honest, someone with a bigger chest than mine. So that was a common adjustment that I had to make. And so I was really into, there's a particular craftsy class. I know they changed their name to Blueprint, but my very favorite craftsy class is called Adjust the Bust, and I've referenced that video so many times. It discusses just a very simple adjustment that you can make for either woven or knit garments, and I got to be a real pro at knowing what to do and how to fix the garments so that they would fit me better without having a lot of loose fabric in the bodice of the garment. So that's my very favorite craftsy class. Look that one up if you're into garment sewing. So are you ready for a demonstration? So my demonstration tonight is for an adjustable buckle strap. So I had a request for this on Tuesday, and I was pretty into the idea, so I prepared it for you tonight. I actually went ahead and clipped this adjustable strap to my Kennedy bag, which is a free video and pattern, but I just wanted to show it to you on a bag before I got into the demonstration. So the reason that this particular strap is adjustable, let me show you the actual buckle portion of the bag. So this bag has a buckle on it. It clips to the bag with swivel clips, which means all you need to do is add little tabs to basically any bag with either a D-ring or a triangle ring. I have a triangle ring here. But the buckle portion is what makes it adjustable. So I'll show you the adjustable portion in the side camera, but I just wanted to show you kind of how it attaches and looks like on an actual bag. But I'm going to jump over to the side camera. I'll show you the strap before I get over to the demonstration. Okay, so here there's swivel clips on either end. Here's the buckle portion, and what makes it adjustable is that this is basically like a working, I don't know, I guess belt buckle if you want to look at it that way. So in order to shorten the strap, you just go ahead and pull it through holes that are further down the strap. So if you want a longer strap again, all you have to do is adjust it back down, and it's got a little loop over here to hold the end of the strap. So you can make this in either cork, leather, vinyl, or I also have instructions for making it with quilting cotton. So whatever material you'd like to use, you can use this demonstration. So Danny's going to put a graphic on the screen right now. This graphic contains all of the supplies that you'll need for making the adjustable buckle strap. So you'll need for sure, no matter what material you're using, 2 1-inch swivel clips, and you'll also need a 1-inch buckle with a tongue. The tongue is just that little piece in the middle that goes through the hole in the fabric. So here's the supply list. If you're making with quilting cotton, you'll need your actual fabric and shape flex. And if you're using cork, leather, or vinyl, you'll follow the supply list near the end of the graphic. So I went ahead and posted this on my blog for you to reference later. Basically, you'll need to cut 2 of each piece out, and then if you're using quilting cotton, you'll also need shape flex. So of course, you'll be attaching shape flex to your quilting cotton pieces before you get started. And I also have a link in the description for a template for the buckle. So if you noticed on my sample right here, the end of the buckle has a curved portion. You'll just go ahead and cut this template out, and I'll show you in a minute how to align this on your fabric. So the dashed line is for cork, vinyl, or leather, and the solid line on the outside is for quilting cotton. And of course, you'll need to measure your 1-inch or 4-centimeter square just to make sure it printed out correctly. Okay, so let's get started with the quilting cotton. So I went ahead and took 2 of my strap extender pieces. Of course, they already have the Pellon shape flex fused to them. And I went ahead and placed the two pieces right sides together, and I sewed both of the long edges using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to grab my fast turning tool. So this tool comes in two pieces. It comes as a 1/2 inch tube, and it also has a metal portion with a corkscrew. So the corkscrew portion is the piece that will grab onto your fabric and pull it through the tube. So I'm going to go ahead and place the tube through both layers of fabric. And then I'm going to go ahead and insert that corkscrew, and then near the end of the fabric, anywhere really, I'm going to go ahead and twist that corkscrew so that it can grab onto the fabric. All right, come on there. Okay, so there you can see the corkscrew is on this end, and I'm just going to use it. Oh, it came loose. Of course, everything when you're live. All right, let's give this another shot. Okay, so I'm going to pull it through the tube right side out. And then just to release the corkscrew, you just go ahead and twist it back in the other direction. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a press so that the seams are on either side. I'm just going to use my fingers to roll out the seams. And I'm also going to press the raw edges toward the inside by about a 1/4 inch. No need to measure that. You can just go ahead and flip the ends in toward the inside by a 1/4 inch. And I believe I have another piece prepared here. So this is what it should look like after it's pressed. And I'm just using my Wonder Clip to hold that opening toward the inside by a 1/4 inch. So I went ahead and top stitched both of the long edges only using an 1/8 inch seam allowance just to give it a nice looking finish. And then what you'll do next is prepare the tab pieces. So the tab pieces is this portion over here that holds the strap after it comes through the buckle. So this is just a really small piece. For the quilting cotton, you're just going to take both of your tab fabrics and sew them right sides together along just one of the long edges. Since this is such a skinny little piece, we're just going to sew it right sides together along one long edge, and then we're going to press on the other long edge just to get a finish. So I've got my piece here. I pressed it before the show. So I went ahead and I first pressed that seam open, and then I went ahead and pressed both of the long edges in toward the center by a 1/4 inch. So basically you're pressing it in toward the edge of the pressed open seam. So this is what it will look like after you've pressed it. And then if you just go ahead and refold it, then both of the long edges are enclosed. Okay, so what I did with this piece, again, I top stitched both of the long edges using an 1/8 inch seam allowance to finish this piece as well. Okay, so next we're going to be putting everything together. So I sort of pinned this before the show just to speed the process along a bit. Let me show you first what we're going to be doing with this tab piece. Let me take this out. Okay, so the tab piece, I'm going to flip to the wrong side of the strap extender. You're going to be measuring 1.5 inches down from one of the short ends right here. So 1.5 inches down, 2 inches down from the short edge. As you can see, my back side looks a little bit messy, but you'll just be stitching one end down first, about 1/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric. Obviously, it'll be easy to stitch the first end down because you can keep this edge pushed away from your strap extender. When I stitched the second edge down, I just went ahead and made sure both of the raw edges kind of met in the middle right over here. And then I held it with my finger just so that I could get my presser foot down, pushing this out of the way, and stitch this piece down. It doesn't have to look pretty, you just need to stitch it down. Okay, so there's 3 different methods to finish the hole openings for the buckle. So if you're using cork leather or vinyl, you can just go ahead and make a hole that's centered 1.5 inches down, and if you prefer, you can leave the hole raw, which is what I did with my cork sample. As you can see, it's just a hole through the fabric. If you have a rivet press with grommets, you can use a 3mm grommet like I did here, or if you have multiple stitches on your machine, you can use a buttonhole stitch to make the hole instead. So you have 3 options depending on the type of fabric that you're using. You want that hole over there so that the tongue of the buckle can go through it. Okay, so let's see if I could get this correct. The tongue is going to go through, I believe I have that backwards, but It should look like this. The tongue should be on top. I spent way longer than necessary trying to get the placement correct before the show, so we're just going to go with this for now. So after you have the tongue through the hole and the placement correct, you're just going to go ahead and secure this folded over edge using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So that will secure this end. The other end is just going to go on to one of your swivel clips. So again, you're going to stitch this down using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so this piece is all done. You can put this piece to the side. The next step is working on the piece with the template. So that template that I showed you earlier, for quilting cotton, again, you're going to cut that out along the solid dashed line. So I've got my piece cut out right here. Okay, so go ahead and take 2 of your strap pieces. You're going to place them right sides together. Before sewing, however, you're going to use the template to just draw around the bottom edge of the fabric, just to round that edge out. And then you're going to sew the entire strap, leaving the short end unsewn using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. However, I found it really helpful to cut along the dashed line for this portion, because you can go ahead and take that smaller piece before you start sewing, and you can take your chalk or your friction pen and draw just that curved portion on the end, because I actually use that as a stitching line. It's really awkward, especially because this piece is so narrow, to get a pretty stitch. But if you mark it before you start stitching, at least you'll have that line to stitch directly on top of. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and notch the curved edges, which means cut little V's within the seam allowance. And then we're going to turn this right sides out and then press it kind of like we did with the strap extender. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fast turn tool one more time. Let's get in between those 2 layers. The only difference between the strap extender and the strap, as far as turning it right side out, is the strap has this finished end over here, which gives the fast turn tool a little bit extra to hold on to. All right, so let's see if I can get this to go on the first try live. All right, there we go. So we're just going to pull that whole, nope, that figures. All right, I'll give it one more shot and then we'll move on. Okay, so there's my little corkscrew, and then I'm just going to gently pull it through the tube. All right. So as you can see, it was pretty easy using this tool to turn it right side facing out. Okay, so again, you're going to press by using your iron first. Use your fingers to roll the seams out to either side. After you've pressed it, you're going to top stitch using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I've got my strap piece over here. Went ahead and top stitched it using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So here is my portion. I decided to use grommets. Again, if you're using cork or leather, you can just leave your holes raw. You can use a buttonhole, and I used grommets here. So my measurements for marking the holes for the grommets, or if you're making holes or buttonholes, I first measured 3 inches away from the short end, made a marking to install the grommet, and then every 2 inches. I would just at least place 5 holes in here, just so you have a little bit of leeway for adjusting your strap. On the other end, I went ahead and, just as I did before, I pushed the raw edges toward the inside by 1/4 of an inch. I slid that second swivel clip on this end of the strap, and then again I top stitched using 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch just to finish this end. Okay, so once this is finished, it goes through your buckle. Let me just talk for a minute about if you're using cork, leather, or vinyl. So the only difference in the assembly methods between quilting cotton and the cork, which I have here, is instead of sewing the fabrics right sides together, you're instead just going to, you can either use a glue stick or wonder clips. You're going to hold the layers wrong sides together and just top stitch. So you're going to skip that whole step where in the quilting cotton I sewed it right sides together. But the rest of the methods are exactly the same. Let me go ahead and pull this out just so you can see how it looks and how to insert it. So here's my piece with the buckle and the swivel clip on this end. And then I'm just going to go ahead and it's super easy. Thread it through this end, decide which hole you'd like to place it in, and then slide it through the tab. So quick and easy. Of course, the other end has the swivel clip, so you have a swivel clip to attach to either end of your bag. And I just feel like this is a really nice finish and something a little bit different than the traditional adjustable strap with your metal slider. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that demonstration. Again, the graphic for the supplies that you'll need and the cutting list are in the description in case you'd like to reference it at a future date. So I'd like to invite you now, if you enjoy our live shows, if you enjoy my sewing demonstrations and bag making videos, we'd like to invite you now, if you're watching on Facebook, to go ahead and hit the share button right now. Share this sewing video with your other sewing friends on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, I hope you will hit the subscribe now button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be notified of our future bag making videos. And regardless, you can like our video either on Facebook or YouTube, and the like looks like a little thumbs up icon. So I want to share a photograph. 1 second. I want to share a photograph. On the Tuesday show, we had a bunch of questions asking about bingo bags. So Kathy shared her bingo bag in the Facebook group, and Danny's going to put that picture on the screen right now. Kathy used the yarn minder bag, the grommet version, which was the easiest version of the three, and she modified hers to make it into a bingo bag by adding a mesh pockets around the outer edge. As you can see, her dabbers are on the outer edge of the bag. She also added a zipper to the outside to keep extra little items inside, and I believe she put the dividers from the yarn minder bag in the inside of her bag. So brilliant. It looks pretty much exactly like if you Google bingo bags, the type of bingo bags that you can buy at the store. So super handy, and it fits the purpose of a bingo bag. So great job, Kathy, and I just wanted to share that photograph with everyone since we had a bunch of questions about that in the past week. So I'm going to be answering some questions live in just a second. So if you have a question for me, bag making question, a question about a notion or tool, go ahead and type that in the comments right now. I'll answer as many questions as I can live. Before I get to the questions, I wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway, and that is Sonia Bracey. So congratulations to Sonia. Contacted Sonia on social media already. So again, congratulations. And now on to the questions. Danny's going to put some on the screen for me. I see a lot of comments in regards to the bingo bag. Yeah, that was a really great idea, something I never would have thought of. I see Evelyn has a question. How does cork and vinyl stand up on the strap in the bottom of the bags? We've been carrying cork, I think, for almost 3 years now. I've used it on a bunch of bags for accent straps and sometimes the bottom of the bag. I found that it holds up pretty well. I did a demonstration a few weeks back using edge coat. Normally I cut my straps and leave them raw, but if you prefer to put a finishing material on the edges of your straps to make them a little bit more durable, edge coat is a great option. I've seen people use seam sealant as well, so that just seals the ends of the cork a little bit, just because there is a backing fabric which is comprised of cotton and polyester on the back of the cork. Sorry, I didn't get to Catherine's question yet. Danny will get it back. Thanks, Danny. Sorry. Stephanie says, Sarah, did you show the dresses in that book to Violet? Did she like them? I'm thinking Elsa would love them. They are close in age. I remember looking through the book the other day when Violet was sitting next to me. I'm not sure if I showed her. I know she would for sure like the hoodie and the pants. I don't know. I'll ask her, and I'll have to get back to you on that. Oh, there's Catherine's question. What is used on the edges of the cork and vinyl? Oh, I think I kind of answered that question already. That's probably why you skipped through it. Edge coat, you can use a seam sealant. Yeah, either of those would work great. Teresa says, my son wants a bag for his I think I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, polyhedron dice. Any suggestions for a bag pattern? Danny, do you know what that is?
It's dice with multiple sides, like a 10-sided dice or 8-sided dice.
Is it a big die or is it smaller?
No, it's like a dice size.
But several dice? I wonder if...
I have like 6 dice or 8 dice.
Oh, okay. Maybe from Minikin Season 1, the Jet Set Cinch bag. Honestly, if Danny's correct and if it's several different die, any of the smaller pouches will work, like the Bellevue, but for some, well, yeah, you might want to have a zipper on it, especially since dice are small. Yeah, Bellevue might be great. What else? Maybe a Sidewinder. Yeah, I'm trying to look behind me and see if anything sparks my memory. Yeah, maybe the Sidewinder too. Vicky says, what is your favorite way to finish your binding? So I've done binding over the years several different ways. These days I tend to cut it about, I think 2 1/4 of an inch wide. I'm actually getting ready to bind a quilt, so that's a timely question. I think I'm going to cut, actually here's my binding fabric right here. I showed a quilt that I finished, I think a couple months back. I'll show you the quilt when it's completely finished and bound, but this is the binding that I decided to go with. I'm really a big fan of stripy bindings. I'm planning on just cutting it from selvage to selvage, 2 1/2 inches wide. I just finger press the binding, wrong sides together, and attach it using my machine, using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to the back of the quilt. And then I flip the folded edge over to the front, and I'm lazy, so I'm just going to be machine stitching my binding down. I've never hand sewn a binding, and I don't know, I just don't have time for that. I'm just being honest. Jennifer says, what is a good product for insulated lunch bags? You can either use laminated fabrics, especially if it's for a lunch bag. You might want to make sure that whatever product you're using is food safe first. I know some of the PUL fabrics are potentially food safe, especially the ones in the diaper making section if you have one of those at your local store. Either of those would be great for an insulated lunch bag. And also you might want to use insulated fleece just to keep either your items hot or cold. And the insulated fleece is basically a fleece interfacing. One side it has like a silver finish, and the side with the silver finish, you want to orient that so that it's facing the inside of your bag, so basically against the wrong side of the lining, and that'll keep your food either hot or cold. Georgia says, 2 requests, can you please design a nappy wallet and a baguette bag, pretty please? So I'm not familiar with a baguette bag, but a nappy wallet, I've not done one of those before. I'm looking for a pen. Thank you, Danny. Oh, Danny. All right, I'm gonna write the nappy wallet down. That's a great idea. One's enough, Danny. Jenny says, have you ever tried binding the day trip wallet rather than birthing it? It definitely can be done. I think I have used binding in bag patterns in the past, but I think I tend to try to finish the bag so that the parts end up being sewn right sides together, because not everyone's a fan of binding, and I know that. So, but yes, you could definitely finish that with binding if you prefer. You'll just need to change the construction a little so you have your raw edges showing on the lining side when you finish.
Where do you purchase buckles? Last question.
Where to purchase buckles? Etsy's a great place. I know if you're in the US, Joann Fabrics has some buckles, but I have a really small Joann, so maybe that's the problem, but I haven't been able to find the 1-inch buckles, which I used for that demonstrations at Joann's. But Etsy has a great selection of buckles. I'm trying to think of the seller. Pacific Trimming is the seller on Etsy where I purchased buckles before, and they have dozens of different designs of buckles. Like some have rhinestones, some are like curved finish, not just like a rectangle or a square. So yeah, that's Pacific Trimming on Etsy. Terry says, Sarah, round crossbody bags are all the rage for this year. Any plans for a pattern for a round bag? So I don't have an exactly round bag, but the Polaris bag has an oval version and also a rectangular version. We're going to have a video for that in the next 4-pack video bundle. I don't know yet when that 4-pack is coming out, but the Polaris bag will be in the next 4-pack. Heidi says, I have 2 cell phones, one for business and one for personal. Which bag would be best to carry them both and attach to my belt loops? I guess it depends on if you need like a lot of extra room, like a bigger bag, or if you just want to carry the 2 cell phones. I know for sure the Day Trip cell phone wallet from Minikin Season 2, let me see if I can reach it. No, I can't reach it, sorry. I know the Day Trip cell phone wallet would fit for 2 cell phones if you don't have to carry a lot of extra stuff, because you could put 1 cell phone in the outer pocket and 1 cell phone in the wallet portion, which secures with the zipper. I'm trying to think, if you're looking for a bigger bag, I would think that most bags would fit your purposes as long as you have maybe perhaps a zipper pocket on the inside, maybe 2 of them, one on each side, one for each cell phone. Retha says, I have several older metal zippers. Do zippers have a shelf life, or will they be okay to use? I've used really old zippers in the past. I find they're totally fine. I haven't seen anything melt or disintegrate or fall apart or anything like that. Annie says, do you have any tips on how to wash a wool pressing mat? I have a yellow stain on it. I know that you can rinse in cold water and hang to dry. As far as stains, maybe someone else could pipe in the comments. I'm not sure about getting that yellow stain out of the wool mat, but if anyone else knows, let us know in the comments, and Danny's going to be on the watch for that comment. Kim says, do you ship to Canada? I may have asked, but I would like to get the turning tool. We do ship worldwide. Shipping rates depend on if you're in the US or international. I know international shipping can be expensive at times, but we do always refund shipping overage for orders. So if what we've charged you is more than the actual shipping, we do always refund. Can you make the Park Sling backpack with fleece, and would it still have some structure, not too soft? I'm pretty sure I've seen a bunch of people make the Park Sling with fleece instead, especially if they're using other materials like corks or vinyls. I definitely think it would be fine. In fact, I'm pretty sure when my friend Tamara came over for book club last month, she showed me her Park Sling, and I'm almost certain that she made it with fleece instead. Danny's nodding yes. She told me the reason she wanted to make it with fleece instead is so she could easily fold it up and place it into a larger bag or her suitcase, because she wanted to use it while she was traveling. So yes, you for sure could use either fleece or Pellon Thermolam for the Park Sling backpack. BJ says, Sarah, what product do you use on the back of applique pieces to affix them to cotton fabric? I like fusible applique papers by Hugs and Kisses. We sell them in the shops in packs of 20, but that is a water-soluble paper. Even though it's fusible, it's water-soluble. So say if you use it in a quilt, after you finish the entire quilt and you wash it, the papers dissolve and they just stay inside the project. They don't feel funny, like you don't feel hard or stiff pieces in the quilt or project after you wash it. It just feels like part of the quilt. Roxy says, do you still have more Pinkerville? I would love to get the purple blue colorway now. Yes, we do. If you go to sewsweetness.com, in the shop section, we actually have a tab for Tulip Pink fabric, and we have all of the past 3 lines of fabric in stock. Pinkerville, Zuma, which is Sea Creatures, and De La Luna, which was a fun Halloween line. I have some cork, but I'm afraid to sew with it. Do you just use it like fabric but without interfacing? And that's not a silly question at all. Generally, if I'm using cork for accents or straps, I generally skip the interfacing. If I'm using it for the body of the bag, I like to use the interfacing as called for in the pattern, although you can make adjustments and use a thinner interfacing if you like. I do have a video on the YouTube channel, how to sew with cork fabric, and you can find that by either searching on YouTube or under the tutorials tab on my website. Denise says, the 3mm rivets for the buckle, and what do you call them when they have the little hole in them? Those are called grommets actually, and I did use in my demonstration, I did use the 3mm size. So I used my hole punch on my rivet press to make the holes first, and then I placed the grommets in the holes, and I have a separate die in my rivet press for installing grommets, and I just use my tabletop rivet press to install the grommets as well. By the way, I also have a video on the YouTube channel for explaining my rivet press, and I linked to that in the description of tonight's show because I had a feeling there might be some questions about it. So if you've not seen that video yet and you want to check it out after the show ends tonight, just check the link in the description, and there's a link to my rivet press video. Amanda says, I think this has been asked before, but do you have plans to do an organizer for your purse to make it easier to move your items from one purse or bag to another? So I was thinking about that earlier this year. I think I hit a stumbling block because there's so many different styles of purses and different widths in purses. So I think I got a little stuck as far as something that can be used for purses in general. I was thinking of maybe like a 3-dimensional organizer, and then one that was a little bit flatter for like a flatter crossbody bag, but I never got past that. I think I definitely need to revisit it because I would certainly find that handy in my own bags to have an organizer. Are you calling it? All right, Danny's calling on the questions. I apologize if I did not get to your question live, but I'll be back on Tuesday at the same time answering questions on Ask Sarah, and Danny will be joining me this Tuesday. All right, so I have a fun giveaway this week. 2 of our community members, Peggy and Bronwyn, sent me items to give away on the show live. So let me show you Peggy's what Peggy sent first. Peggy sent these storage organizers. It says clip and spin organizers. Peggy uses these to hold her zippers. So it can hold, there's 75 different clips, I believe. And you can have, if you have even that many colors of zippers, you can have a separate clip for each of your zippers. And it's spinning, so you can kind of just spin it around while you're looking for the perfect zipper for your project. So this is from Peggy. Peggy, thank you so much. And then Bronwyn also sent me some really cute cat fabric that she used for her recent grab and go sleeve, if you happen to catch that on social media or in the Facebook group. So Bronwyn sent 2 different colorways of the cat fabric, super cute. It's like a canvas type of fabric, but not too thick, so it would be great for just about any project. Again, thank you, Bronwyn. So we have multiple giveaways this week, so I'll be drawing multiple winners. I'll be announcing the winners on next week's show, so you have until this Saturday at the end of the day to enter. All you need to do to enter is to type the answer to this question in the comments on either Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this video right now. My question is, where were you born? So just go ahead and type that in the comments. I was born in the Chicago suburbs, so I've always lived in the Chicagoland area. We actually live in Chicago right now, but not too far from where I grew up. So go ahead and answer that question in the comments. Thank you again so much for joining me for Social Sunday. I hope you had a great time. I sure did. I'll see you again next Sunday for Social Sunday. Have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.